Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Crazy Out Cayne, sugarcane.com, CACTV. It's time to talk about the top 3 bikes that were featured in July 2024. Bike of the month, July 2024. I'm going to talk about those bikes in a second, but first, I added some new little features to the aesthetic, to the video. Let me know what you guys think. But anyways, let's get into these bikes. Starting with bike number 3, and that bike is a 2024 S&M Steel Panther with that raw look to it, along with some gold highlights on there. Bike is looking real fresh. You can't really go wrong with that raw colorway, especially when they put that clear powder coat over it. This bike was submitted by Mike Sabuziak, and he did a great job with his build. It looks real fresh. I like how he put the gold highlights on the bike with the parts. You know, you got the gold stem, you got the gold pedals, the gold seat post. Big shout out to Mike for submitting this bike, and Mike said that he always loved 4140 bikes. I think he meant 4130 bikes. But yeah, he says he always loved 4130 bikes, and he'd like to thank Second Chance BMX, James Young, Jason Ebel, TNT Bikes, Larry's Bike Shop, Andy at Chippendale, and everyone who supported him through tough times. Without these people, this build would never have happened. And now that we know about Mike's inspiration for the build, let's check out those parts, son. All right, so the parts: 2024 S&M Steel Panther with a 22-inch top tube. He's rocking the S&M Race Fork 4130. It's got the 3/8 dropout. Sins headset, 53mm profile stem. He's got TNT bars with a 9.25 rise. 9.25 is the same rise I have on my bars, and I really love that, man. It just feels right. So if you guys are rocking those low bars and you feel hunched over, definitely get some taller bars, man. 9.25s or 9.15s. Definitely try those out, because it could basically change your life. It can also take some stress off your back too, especially if you're really hunched over when you ride. He's got Pro Taper Pillow MX grips, Pro Max lever, caliper, and cable noodle, 180mm profile cranks, a 43 tooth MCS chainring. He's got some Amazon Chinese pedals, okay? I guess you don't know the name of those pedals, but the Amazon Chinese pedals. I guess if you go to Amazon, you look up Chinese pedals, you're going to see these pedals. So I guess that's what it is. So this bike also features an Odyssey bottom bracket, Shadow half link V2 chain, Tioga faster tires, 1.85 in front and rear, TNT M80 rims, Poopy cassette hubs, 15 tube Shimano cog, S&M seat post clamp, Black Ops seat post, and the Evoque seat. You can also see he has gold nipples on the spokes. He also has a cool gold skull valve cap. His chainring bolts are gold, so that's nice attention to detail. I ain't mad at those pedals. His pedals look real solid, so the Amazon pedals are kind of winning right now. I'm liking that. Color, total color score is 8.57, originality 8.28, parts 8.34, overall style 8.6, giving it an overall rating score of 8.45. Only 6 people gave this bike a rating, so you already know what you got to do if you haven't rated this bike yet. Come back to sugarcane.com, give this bike a rating, because not only is there a bike of the month competition, which is already over for this, but there's the bike of the year competition. So if you want to see this bike move up the charts, give this bike a rating. Also leave a comment on the site, because you know that helps the site grow, helps these bikes get spread out more on the internet, because the SEO stuff, you know. Okay, so now we know about the build, the inspiration, the parts list, but let's talk about that frame a little bit more. Let's find out more about the Steel Panther frame if you guys don't already know. Upgrades include additional bend and seat stays for greater chain clearance, integrated dropout chain tensioners, and a slightly lower standover. The rear end length varies per size and is relative to top tube length. So what does that all mean when they say the rear end length varies per size? What happens is on the 2.5 and the 2.75 top tube, you have a 13.9 to 14.9 rear end. And the 21, 21.25, 21.5 all have a 14.4 to 15.4 rear end. So that means you have a longer rear end on the longer size top tube. So that's pretty cool, and I like the fact that you can get your rear end down to a 14.4 on the 21.5, or if you like a real long rear end, you can pull it back to a 15.4. And now going to the even bigger sizes, you got the 21.75, the 22-inch top tube, and the 23-inch top tube frames. They all have a 14.9 to 15.9 rear end. So the head tube angle on this bike is a 74.5, which is a little bit steeper than most BMX racing bikes. Most BMX racing bikes got a 74, which means this bike is a little more responsive on the turns. The frame has an integrated head tube style. It's got a 71-degree seat tube angle. The seat post size on this bike is a 27.2mm. It's got the standard 11.5 bottom bracket height Like, that's pretty much the golden standard for bottom brackets for most people who race or ride BMX in general. It's got the Euro bottom bracket, it's got the V-brake mounts, and the tubing on this bike is Budded Thermal X. So now you know about the quality of this frame, so when it comes time to rating these bikes, you have some more information to help you out with your decision on the frame quality. So that was the Steel Panther bike number 3. Big shout out to Mike for submitting this bike. And now let's get into number 2. Bike number 2. And that bike is a 2014 GT Speed Series SRS Carbon Edition. If you didn't know any better, this bike could easily be mistaken for a 2024 model. 10 years old, 2014, and this thing still looks like it's ready for today's BMX racing action. Unfortunately, GT doesn't make the carbon frames no more. I really like this frame, wish they still made it. And that black color with the carbon, with the matte finish and all of that looks real fresh. And I also like some of those anodized blue highlights. This bike was submitted by Nick Sutik. Did a really great job on this build. And he says that he got this bike from ex-GT products manager Jason Halverson from Salt Lake City, Utah. This bike was built by him as he would have been very lucky to have access to the GT factory's part supply. And the best part for Nick personally is that this is build number 0001. That's right, this is the first black edition for 2014. And man, that is a real good look for Nick. Hot diggity dog. He also says he loves GTs and this one is his absolute favorite. Big shout out to Nick for submitting this bike for sure. He's all the way out in Sydney, Australia, checking out sugarcane.com and the Bike of the Day series, which is really cool. All right, so now that we know about the inspiration for this build, let's check out those parts, son. Once again, this is a 2014 GT Speed Series SRS Carbon Edition, the GT Prototype OS V bars, the GT Prototype OS stem, Pro Max V brakes, SDG seat and seat post, Alienation rims laced to GT Race Lace 20mm hubs, 42 tooth GT rivet chainring, 180mm GT Speed Pro crankset, DOHC GT race grips, and all the GT parts use the Pro Max collaboration. That SD stem, man, I'm really feeling the SD stem. That thing has some nice work done in there. The CNC work on there is real dope. I'm liking that GT spacer too. That's fresh. All right, so the total rating score is an 8.56, originality 8.64, parts 8.31. Overall style 8.47, giving this bike a total rating score of an 8.5. I really think this bike should be a little higher up on the ratings, and when it comes to originality, I definitely think it should have a higher score, especially with that dropout and some of the bends that this bike has on the frame when you look a little closer to it. This joint right here is fire, and it still stands up to today's bikes. Not sure why they discontinued it, but if you do know why this GT frame was discontinued, please leave it in the comments. Let's start the discussion and talk about it, because I'm curious to know why did GT stop making the Carbon Speed Series. So the 2014 GT Speed Series came in 3 different sizes. You had the 20.5, 21, and a 21.5 top tube on this bike. Not sure what the rear end was, but I'm pretty sure it was in the 14s. The frame also featured the GT quick release integrated internal wedge for the seat post, which was really dope. This frame also had that unique CNC forged adjustable sliding dropout. That was one of the first BMX bikes to have that type of setup in the dropout, which made it easier for you to change your wheels without losing the placement where the chain's supposed to go. So then this frame also featured the BB30 bottom bracket. Nobody was really doing that back then either, so you have to put that into consideration. And it also had the taper headset, so it's 1 1/8 on top, 1.5 on the bottom, integrated head tube. Let me know if you remember any other frames around 2014 that was doing it like GT was doing it with their high-end frame. Okay, y'all, so now it's time for the #1 bike, the bike of the month, July 2024. And that bike is a 2024 Race Inc. Elite RA20 Olympic Edition. That's right, this is the bike that Carlos Ramirez was racing on in the 2024 Olympics that happened last week. This bike is all done up to represent Colombia. You can see the Colombian flag colorway all on the frame, mixed in with the polish, which really makes this thing stick out. You got the polish, you also have blue and the yellow and the red of the Colombian flag. You also have the Race Inc. logo on the down tube in black. This bike was submitted by by Matt Morgeson of the American BMX Company, and that is the parent company to Race Inc. He submitted it to Bike of the Day, and I really appreciate that I got an Olympic bike submitted to Bike of the Day. I'm probably going to work on compiling all of the bikes from the Olympics and do a special Bike of the Month for the Olympic bikes. I got to do that. It's going to take a lot of work though. So Matt says that it's a custom build for the Olympics featuring Carlos's home flag, Colombia. It's painted by Buck Wild Brand. You can check them out on Instagram, Buck Wild Brand. They did a really good job. As you can see here, this is Carlos holding his bike up before the Olympics. Also got Carlos on the gate with the bike, looking real fresh. Yeah, man, this bike is bananas. So now that we know about the inspiration for this build, let's check out those parts, son. All right, so once again, this is a 2024 Race Inc. Elite RA20 frame with that custom Olympic colorway to represent for Colombia. Polished 175mm box 1 cranks, box X6 fork, titanium box handlebars, 53mm box stem, 130mm ODI grips, box Helix Lab carbon rims, Shimano XTR disc brakes, Shimano Durace carbon road pedals, box carbon seat, Maxxis Relics tires, titanium spokes, and the KMC chain. What I really like about this frame is the top tube. That's what kind of makes it stick out from all the rest of the bikes. It has that nice little bend right here, which makes it have a straight shot down to the chainstay, so that power transfer is ridiculous. But also you have this hydroformed front end of the top tube, which not only expands out from top to bottom, but it also expands out in width too. So when you look straight down at it, you see how beefy this front end is, and it tapers down to its regular size right here. So this is really cool. It also wraps around the head tube, so there's some real crazy support on the front end all the way down to the C-stay. And look how bulky the chainstay is. It has a real bulky chainstay, so this bike is just stiff all the way around, but some great responsiveness on the track. So the people gave this bike a total color score of a 9.02, originality 9.07, parts 8.86, overall style 9.17, giving it a total overall rating score of a 9.03. Only 12 people gave this bike a rating, bringing it up to the top of the month. Let's talk about that Race Inc. frame. Now this bike comes in several different sizes. It comes in Expert XL, Pro, Pro XL, Pro Double XL, Pro Triple XL, Cruiser Pro, and Cruiser Pro Double XL. It comes in 2 colorways stock. It has this blue and white colorway, and it also has this black and gray colorway as well. So you have 2 options on that, but you can always get them custom painted, just like my boy Roy Washington had his custom painted, and also Carlos Ramirez, of course. So the tubing is Hydroform 6061 T6 aluminum. It has the oversized B52 bottom bracket shell, oversized tapered head tube with integrated drop-in head set. You got the oversized adjustable 20mm dropout, but it has an adapter for 10mm and 15mm axles. You have 50mm or 1.9 inches of fore and aft rear axle adjustment, so you have a lot of adjustment back there to put your wheel right where you want it. Internal rear brake cable routing. The disc brake post mounts are attached to the dropout adapter, so whatever adapter you have, it comes with the disc brake post mount. Another cool thing about this frame is that it actually comes with a headset, so you don't have to go out and buy a headset for it. It already comes with a headset. It comes with the 20mm, 10mm, and 15mm dropout adapters, so that's pretty cool. And it also has converter cups, so you can fit a Euro bottom bracket set inside of the B52 bottom bracket shell. So I'm going to go to the geometry on this bike, and I'm just going to go off the Pro Triple XL size geometry, just so you know what we're dealing with here with this frame right here. So the top tube length on the Race Inc. Elite RA20 frame has a 22-inch top tube length. So if you measure from the center of the bottom bracket to the center of the top tube, it's 6.1 inches, but the seat tube length is 8.3. Seat tube angle is 72 degrees. Head tube angle is 74 degrees. The chainstay length is 15.3 inches. Bottom bracket height is 11.25, so they dropped it down a little bit lower, so you can have a little bit lower of a center of gravity. The head tube length is 4.7 inches, which is kind of around the standard of what head tube lengths are these days. The top tube is 21.5 on the Double XL. Everything else is pretty much the same, and the chainstay length is 15 inches. The top tube on the Pro is 20.5 inches, and the chainstay on that is 14.5. So on the Race Inc. frames, the shorter the top tube, the shorter the chainstay. That's how that works over there. I want to give a big shout out to Matt over at American BMX Company, and also big shout out to Carlos Ramirez. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to the finals in the Olympics. He was fighting hard to make it into the semis during the qualifying round. He wound up making it into the last chance qualifier, but unfortunately he crashed on the last straight and wound up getting hurt pretty bad. But he said on his Instagram that he will be back. He's going to make it happen. He's going to heal up and continue to race. So that's great news. So big up to Carlos Ramirez. And check this out, Carlos. You may not have made it into the mains at the Olympics, but you did get a first place for Bike of the Month, July 2024. So I'll be sending you your medal for that. And once again, man, appreciate you guys for supporting the site, representing for sugarcane.com and the Bike of the Day, Bike of the Month, Bike of the Year movement. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking about Bike of the Year, let's see where Carlos's bike is on the Bike of the Year chart. Let's find out right now, son. So as it stands, I Am Cook is dominating the Bike of the Year competition for 2024. We have the Cruiser in first place. We also have the 20-inch in second place. I think both of those bikes are owned by Cracker. So Cracker is killing it right now in the Bike of the Year series. Third place, we have the Supercross. We have another I Am Cook in fourth place. So I Am Cook is killing it right now. Fifth place, we have that crazy Torker Side Hat Custom. Crazy. There's also the Sendit SYB in sixth place. We got a Supercross MVR 7. And then we have Carlos Ramirez's Olympic Race Inc. RA20 in eighth place. So in the top 10 right now. He's in the top 10 right now. Let's find out if his bike goes up or down. Definitely want you guys to participate and rate these bikes. In ninth place, we have a 2024 Torker Pro X. So we got two Torkers up in the top 10. 10th place, we have the JTT Diamondback, which is actually owned by Scarface. That's right, we got rappers on BMX bikes right now. Hip-hop legends, actually. Big shout out to Scarface for representing on the BMX tip. All right, y'all, so that's it. Bike of the Month, July 2024. And I'm out. Back to you, Billy.